Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. One man was shot dead and another critically wounded by an Idaho State Police officer earlier this week after a high-speed chase that began on the Nez Perce Reservation near Lewiston, Idaho. State police said the officer, whose name was not released, was taken to hospital with minor injuries after the shooting the evening of May 19th, but was not seriously hurt. FBI spokesman Juan Becerra in Salt Lake City identified the dead man as Randall Vernon Ellenwood, 50, and the wounded man as Ricardo Daniel Rodriguez, 37. Both are Nez Perce tribal members. Rodriguez was in critical condition in intensive care unit at St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center in Lewiston, hospital officials said. Becerra said the chase started with an attempted traffic stop for reckless driving and ended when the two men got out of the vehicle and confronted the officer. Ellenwood died at the scene. 3 of 8 people charged with selling cocaine on the Pine Ridge Reservation now have dates scheduled to stand trial June 15th in federal courts in Rapid City, South Dakota. Elvina Whitebowl, Lyle Wilson, and Brandon Ekefee have pled not guilty to multiple counts, including conspiracy to distribute cocaine and marijuana. 5 other people pled guilty and were sentenced to prison in the case so far. Lawrence Veal, Tyler Eaglebowl, Joe Brewer, and brothers Dominique and Daryl Saucedo have already pled guilty and were sentenced. They also signed a factual basis statement indicating that Vio and other people bought and brought at least 11 pounds of cocaine from Denver, Colorado suppliers for distribution throughout the Pine Ridge area between the years 2002 and 2008. When the Wellbriety Journey for Forgiveness visited the Shoshone-Bannock community in Fort Hall, Idaho on Wednesday, May 19th, they received an unexpected gift. Don Coyas, the inspiration behind the journey, was given a pair of football trousers that once belonged to Jim Thorpe, world-class athlete and football player who attended Carlisle Indian School in the early part of the 20th century. Don was asked to carry the pants back to the site of the Carlisle Indian School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is the last site visit on the journey, scheduled to take place around June 21st of this year. White Bison Inc. is honored to carry out this request to symbolically heal the boarding school era, according to Coyas. The Wellbriety Journey is headed next to the Seward Indian School in Carson City, Nevada on May 24th, the Sherman Indian School in Riverside, California on May 26th, and the Phoenix Indian School in Phoenix, Arizona on the 27th, while it winds itself down through the Southwest on its way eventually to Washington, D.C. You can get more information at www.whitebison.org. New York Oneida Indian Nation leader Ray Halbreder is pledging to bring 1,000 new jobs to central New York if a proposed $55 million land trust settlement with Oneida County is approved. More than 200 residents at a public hearing May 18th offered a mix of praise and criticism for the deal, which must be approved by the county and state lawmakers by June 30th or the deal will lapse. The Oneidas will pay $30 million to local governments for taxes not paid since 1995. The county would receive an additional $25 million over a 10-year period. In return, Oneida County would drop its legal challenge against the U.S. Department of Interior's decision to place almost 8,800 acres of tribal land into federal trust outside the control of state and local governments. Anishinaabe Nation Grand Council Chief John Bocage is showing his support for the peaceful protest against the creation of a landfill at Site 41 in the tiny township of Georgian Bay, Ontario. Water is the lifeblood of Mother Earth, says Bocage. We need to protect it for future generations. Many people from the nearby Busalelo First Nation have raised concern about the proposed dump site, and to date, none of their concerns have been addressed, according to the press release from the Grand Chief's office. The landfill is currently under construction, is located within 8 kilometers of Georgian Bay. If you want for more information, you can get it from Marcy Becking, Communications Officer of the Union of Ontario Indians, by calling 705-497-9127 at extension 2290. The northwestern New Mexico's Rama Navajo chapter is the first tribe in the nation to receive economic stimulus money for road repair. U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood said May 19th the tribe will receive more than $644,000 from the Federal Highway Administration to help resurface nearly 10 miles of Rama Navajo Route 25, also known as the Veterans Highway. The federal agency in 2006 says the chapter signed an Indian Reservation roads agreement allowing it to work directly with the Federal Highway Administration instead of contracting with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. It was among the first 4 tribes in the nation to sign such an agreement. An Eskimo family is seeking $200 million in land use argument with oil giant British Petroleum over its use of the family allotment. The family alleges that BP violated its lease agreement when it expanded its drilling from their land in the North Slope to access offshore deposits. In its court filing, the family says the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs should collect the unpaid rent and turn it over to the Oinga family. BP disagrees that it violated the contract. It says that little or no money is owed to the family. Rather than suing BP directly, the family is targeting the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs, which was in charge of gathering BP's lease payments for the allotment. The fight is not new. It has been winding itself through the Court of Federal Claims for just about 3 years now. 10 months ago, the family won a key victory when a federal judge ordered BP to stop using the drill site on the 40-acre allotment to access the offshore Lisburn oil pool. Also, the judge said the BIA, which did not act on the family's complaints, neglected its duty as a trustee to protect the family's financial interest. The Crow Creek Sioux tribe has created a new company called Sioux Wind to generate electricity from wind turbines that would be built on or near the tribe's reservation in central South Dakota. The tribe will own 80% of the new company. The other 20% will be owned by the Dalton Creations of Houston, Texas, which would lead the effort to raise $15 million from investors to launch the wind farm. John Dalton, Chief Executive Officer of Dalton Creations, said he has put up the initial money to start the planning process and to conduct studies. He said he is negotiating with wealthy investors to provide the first $15 million for the project. The turbines will provide income for the tribe in another part of the project, which would build smaller wind turbines, solar panels, and other alternative heating units for tribal members, according to Dalton. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters for helping us with this broadcast and for all of you for joining with us again. Come back soon again. Miigwech.